All right, and so everything I'm going to go over here is just it's in your notes. I'm not going to actually use the notes here. I'm just going to kind of go through the things that are in the notes, but we will be. I'm not going to actually reference the notes too much. I'm just going to go through them, but you can reference this stuff. It's all in the notes for you. We have here two views in Ableton Live: the arrangement view here and the session view here. And when you open up Ableton Live in the beginning, it starts off with the session view like this, and then you can hit the tab key to flip to the arrangement view. And that's really important. It's like Command equal in Pro Tools. That tab key is going to be one of your most important shortcuts that you have in Ableton Live. So let's go ahead and start up here in the upper left-hand corner, and we're going to go around to the right like this, around kind of in a circle around the screen here. First of all, we have this link button. This link button is so you can link Ableton Live with other things that are on the same network. You don't really need to worry about that in the beginning too much. Once you decide that you want to sync up another computer or your iPad or your phone or something with Ableton Live, just put it on the same network and hit that link button. And whatever program you're using on your phone or your computer, other computer, if it has the capability to link to Ableton Live, then it will put it up here. Programs are adding this in all the time. For example, Pro Tools just added in the ability to link to Ableton Live. It's really cool. It keeps everything in sync together. They just lock in together in sync. It's super easy to use. Much easier than it used to be to sync different devices up together. You have your tap tempo here, so if you want to tap the tempo in, we can tap it in like that. So you could do that. You can also just keep this like this. And as you can notice that everything that I play in here, if I play this, if I adjust my tempo right here, it changes everything automatically as I play. And it sounds pretty good, actually. I mean, most of the stuff is MIDI stuff, so it should sound good. There's no reason why it should sound bad. But you can see that everything, or you can hear that everything just follows my tempo that I change. It's great. It works really, really well. So I'm just going to keep this at, let's keep it at 110 here. These buttons here are your nudge buttons. You're not going to use those ever. They're still there. I don't know why they're still there, but they're like a kind of an experiment that Ableton tried like 10 years ago or so, and it never really caught on very much. It was for using Ableton Live with DJ setups. You got your time signature here, 4/4. You can change this to a 3, make it 3/4 if you wanted to, or 6/8 or something like that. Some of these songs I played for y'all before that I've done are in 6/8 or 12/8 or something like that, and I just started them in Ableton Live in 6/8 or 12/8. Here's your metronome. You can turn that on or off just by clicking it on, off. You can click on this arrow here to get a count in. You can also change the sound of your metronome. The classic sound drives me bananas. I like the wood sound, but that's me. You can use whatever you want. Then you have what rhythm you want it to do, and you can also have it so it only plays the metronome while it's recording. So you can just turn that on. It's only going to play while it's recording. I usually just leave it on all the time, but that's me. You can do that however you want. Then we have here our global quantize, and there's a couple different settings for this. I would usually leave it at 1 bar, but what the global quantize does is it syncs up when these clips are going to play. We're going to come back and talk about these clips in a little bit here, and when we do that, we're going to talk more about the global quantize. Here is my follow, so I can turn that on and it will follow things across the screen. So for example, if I'm in here in my view here and I have everything, and I'm playing from like right here and I zoom in, if I hit follow, it'll follow it. If I turn that off, it'll stop following it. I usually leave it off. That's up to you though. It's a preference, just how do you want to do that. How do you zoom in and out? That's a setting that I have for my teaching. I can explain it to you later. It's nothing to do with Ableton Live. It's just to do with my teaching setup. I was doing it in Pro Tools as well, if you noticed. But it's a shortcut for your computer, not for Ableton Live, and I'll show it to you later if you want. All right, so here is where you are in your timeline here, and you can put that wherever you want to change where your position is. And then over here on the right-hand side, this is your here, so we can show this here. Let's just set this to a 4-bar loop. This here shows where your loop points are. And these can be adjusted. Here you can see I've got it looped right here. Now if I keep the loop on, check this out, if I keep the loop on, it's just going to loop that section of my song. That works just like Pro Tools or Logic, whatever you're used to. And here, if I turn this off, you're going to see that these loop things kind of disappear from each other. It's not going to be there anymore. If I turn on, there they are. If I turn it off, there they aren't. But this here is what bar it starts at, and this here sets for how long it is. See, I can change this number here and adjust the length of my loop point here. This is something that's a little bit different from how Logic and Pro Tools work. Logic and Pro Tools actually does show you the loop length of what you've selected, but it also shows you the start and end points of it. Ableton Live doesn't show you the start and end points. It only shows you the start point and the loop. It's kind of a weird thing. So this number over here is our playhead. See that little arrow thing, that little triangle? That adjusts where we're starting back playback. And this here shows where our kind of bracket section is. Now, if I wanted to always start from one place, you can see that by default, wherever I click, Ableton is going to start from. If I want to start back from one place in particular, I can right click on this bracket here and go set start time, set song start time here. And I click on it now, and you can see this little green arrow there. And we can still see this one here, but it's going to start from this green arrow here. If I turn this off, check out what happens. It's going to start from this point right here. If I click over here, it'll start from here, here. I can start from different points in my song, but if I want to always start from the same part again and again and again, I can just click on this. Like, let's say I want to edit something over here, but I just want to mess with something over here. I want to listen to this, so I can just play that. If I click over here, it's still going to play from the green arrow here. And that, to get to that, you have to right click and set that up. Okay. Here's our play, stop, and record. These buttons are for this view really only. When you hit play with the space bar, whatever, it does play stuff from this view here. You see if I click play over here, it's playing it here. It's playing it back in my arrangement view as well as my session view. Excuse me. Plays it back in my arrangement view and my session view. This here is really controlling playback for everything, but it's actually playing it back from my arrangement view here. If I stop it, it's stopping everything. It's gonna put my arrangement view back to the beginning here. If I hit record, it does not record into these clips in here. It records into my arrangement view here. I'm babysitting my dog. I'm dog sitting my friend's dog, and I don't know if you can hear it snoring over here in the corner, but it's very cute. Anyway, this recording is going to have a snoring dog in it. Anyway, so up here is this plus button here adds in, it allows me to arrange overdub, my MIDI arrangement overdub. So for example, if I wanted to go over here, let's just set up a loop here. I'm going to set up a loop right there, boom. And I'm going to hit go on this. And if I hit my record button on here, if I wanted to go ahead and record something into here, I can record, let's record that right there. And I can hit record here. And now, whoops, if I click this down, you can see it recorded that there. But it didn't overdub it. So if I hit record again on this, it'll like record over those notes. But if I wanted to record overdub, like a loop like we were doing in Pro Tools, I can hit this plus button right here. And now, I can record stuff on top of it. There we go, I can turn that down so it's not too loud. And I can still record stuff in if I wanted to record stuff in. Let's go ahead and clap kiss sound here is in D sharp. Let's turn that down. I can and it's just recording over, and that's what this button right here does. That's my arrangement overdub button. If I want to record in some automation, like volume automation and stuff like that, or a filter, let's say I have a filter on this track. I'm going to go ahead and drop a filter on here. And if I go over here to my audio effects, let's drag a filter on here. Boop. So I got my filter there. If I wanted to, I can go ahead and there's my filter, and I can record that in. If I hit the record button here, I can turn this record off, hit the record button here. And now, hit A. So there's all my filter stuff I just recorded. I didn't record over though because MIDI Overdub wasn't on. Let's go ahead and hit that button again. There we go. Now I hit play. So I just recorded everything I did. Just very similar to Pro Tools or Logic. It's just that's where that button is. That's your automation right button there. Now, if I go ahead, you can see when I automate, when I write automation, it puts a little red dot next to the control that I did. If I move this, watch what happens. See, it just turned gray. All that stuff in the background turned gray. Well, remember in Logic and Pro Tools how automation is king. In Pro Tools, if you write automation onto a track, it's going to follow that automation forever and ever and ever. If you move something, it's just going to go back to the automation. Well, Ableton Live is the opposite, and we're going to talk about this in detail on another day, not right now, but we're going to come back and talk about automation stuff in detail. But automation, basically, if I move a knob or change a setting, then Ableton Live is going to follow that change, not what I had originally written in. But you can see here, it all became grayed out here. So if I want to go back to what I originally wrote in, and I don't want to do whatever I just did, I can hit this little orange button here. This this basically reverts back to our automation. I click on that, and now it goes back to my automation. It'll take a little bit of time to wrap your head around what that actually means, but it's that's what it means. But it'll take, I think it'll take a little bit of time to wrap your head around how to utilize that. All right, let's go down here to our synth. Let's go down to our keys. Right, so if I hit play and I play some stuff in, and I liked what I played, I can hit this button here and it'll capture that. It's our capture record button here. So now, there it is right there. So this button right here, basically what it does, it captures our MIDI, just like in Logic has that same functionality, but it'll just allow you to put your MIDI in there if you were just playing along. Now the cool thing about this is, I can even not be playing at all. I can just be like, wow, that was really cool. So I just hit this capture button there, and it will actually it'll just record what I just played in. You can see how it just recorded that, even though I wasn't actually playing or anything like that. It just brought it in and set it up for me, which is pretty darn cool. And this one here is our session record button. What this does is it allows me to record into my session view here. So if I'm playing something here, what happened? Hold on a second. Well, it seems like it was still recording. Yeah, it kicked me out too, I guess. I'm not sure where I lost y'all at. What was the last thing you heard me talk about? Well, I'm going to suggest that we keep going and y'all can rewatch the video later, or do you want me to stop and kind of go and try to figure out where we lost everything here? What do y'all suggest? That was weird. Oh man, really? That was very far away. Wow, okay. That's gonna set us back. Well, it's only gonna set us back like 5 minutes. So keep going and record. Yeah, overdubbing MIDI. I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. You can just come back and watch that part about overdubbing MIDI. It was only like 5 minutes, but I want to keep going so we can get into Zoom and kind of y'all get some chance to work on this stuff. It wasn't much, but the last thing I did talk about here, just real quick, was I just played some stuff on my keyboard. And then I hit this button right here, this one, and it captures that MIDI part here and will throw it in for me. Which is pretty darn cool. That's your MIDI capture button there. Then we have over here our session record button here. The session record button, basically what that lets me do is it lets me overdub stuff into our session. Now, one thing I want to pull your attention to here is down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have this info view here. You can open that up by clicking on this little arrow here that opens up this info view, and it's basically a little manual that pops up here, whatever you mouse over here on the side. So that's a pretty cool little feature there. And I recommend having that open in the beginning. So basically what this does is if I go over here and I'm recording on this track here, let's say, let's put this in. Okay, so let's use this one here. So if I want to record in a little clip here, and we're going to talk about recording clips and recording MIDI and stuff like that later. I'm not going to get into that too much today, but I'm just going to go ahead and hit record on this, hit play, and then, whoops, hold on, wrong sound. Let's start with the right sounds. Yep. Okay. Now, I can go ahead and play some sounds in. You see how it's playing right now. If I hit this record button up here on the top, now, it's going to record that sound, it's going to record that note into everything. So it's basically a MIDI overdub for this view right here. So it's different from the plus button. The plus button is for the arrangement view, and the this button here is for the session view. All right, so keep going across the top. We already talked about this part right here, so I'm not going to go back over, but basically it just sets where your markers are for this view here. Over here on the right-hand side, we have our draw mode, MIDI draw, our draw mode, turning on or off, enable your pencil draw. Basically what this does is if I have a clip, it allows me to draw things into that clip. There's that, according to the grid. It works in both views over here, so if I go over here and I want to put in like a kick drum or something, I can just put a kick drum in right there. I can just draw it in with the pencil tool turned on. So there we go, there's that. So if I click on this, and I can just go here and hit play. So that's what that pencil tool does. You can also draw in automation and stuff like that. It works in different views, but there's a few different ways to draw in your automation. And sometimes I recommend using the pencil tool and sometimes I don't. So it just depends on what you're doing. This here's your computer keyboard. Basically it turns this keyboard here into a MIDI keyboard. So if you are just somewhere where you don't have a controller and you just want to make some beats or whatever, all you have is your laptop with you, you could use this button here, turn that on, and it basically turns on your computer, makes your computer keyboard into a MIDI keyboard. This here is your keyboard map switch, so I can map different things. Basically, this is a cool way to set up shortcuts and stuff like that. So that's what I use it for. I use it to set up shortcuts that I want to have in my session. And that's what you can use it for as well. And I'm going to show you how to do that on another day. Not today, but another day. And then we have the MIDI mapping mode here. I can take this and I could map my MIDI controller to control different things on my screen. So for example, I put a, did I just break Ableton Live? Wow, okay, I just broke Ableton Live. Great, yay. My computer is not happy today for some reason. Let's open it back up. Yes, let's continue working on our set. I'll just pick things up where we left off here. But essentially what I can do is I just click on anything on the screen that's blue and I just turn a knob on my controller. It's actually super, super easy to do. It works really well. It works like Logic has the same thing. You can do the same thing in Logic. It doesn't work quite as well as in Ableton Live. I prefer the way that Ableton Live does it. Let's see if we can do it again here. Hit the. That's interesting. Whatever. So here, let's click on this, and we'll go. Wait, let's turn it off. Let's go over to our drum group here, and our drum group. I put a filter on it. No, I put the filter on this one here. So if I want to control this filter with my MIDI, I can click on this and I can assign it to a knob. And now I can use this knob to change the resonance and the frequency down here in the bottom. So it's a way to, yes, I know, live unexpectedly quick. All right. So you can map things, and it's a really cool little way to do it. But there's other ways to map things, and we're going to talk about how controllers work with Ableton Live. Like Ableton Live gets super deep when you're talking about controllers. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to show you different ways to do this as well, depending on what kind of controller you've got. Then over here where it says 4%, this 4% right here is how much computer CPU you're using. This here is your disk drive overload mode. You do not want to see this lighting up too much. It means that you're kind of accessing drives in a really awkward way that the computer's not super happy with. Here is our kind of showing us what's working, what's not working. So if I'm playing notes on my keyboard, it'll light this one up here. If I'm turning knobs and stuff, it'll light this one up here, hopefully. If it doesn't, then you know you've got a problem. And this is for troubleshooting. And if I'm sending MIDI out from Ableton Live, it should be lighting this bottom one up here. So that's for troubleshooting stuff. And these over here also light up at different points when you're talking about MIDI and stuff like that. All right, we talked about these before. This just switches your window. Don't use those, use your tab key. Down here, you've got all these different ones that show or hide different aspects of your screen. So if I don't want to see my I/O settings here, I can just click I/O, and so I'm hiding those. The other shortcut for this is Command Option and that first letter, whatever letter is right there. So Command Option I, Command Option S, Command Option R, Command Option M. And again, if you mouse over them, it tells you on the lower left-hand corner what you're looking at here. So I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on this. I'd rather you kind of explore it and see what it does, but it's just showing and hiding different aspects of your screen. All right, down here on the bottom, we can show and hide our device bar here, so you can see what's going on down the bottom. The shortcut for this is Command Option L. I guess I just ran out of letters, so device. But that L, Command Option L, does show and hide your devices down here. And you can see here, down at the very bottom of my screen, I can click and drag this to go back and forth over all my devices. Now, one of the cool things about Ableton Live is that you don't really have any limit for how many devices you can have on a track. So you can have pretty much as many plugins on a track as you want, which is pretty dope. And then if you want to just move them around, you can just click and drag to move it around. And we're going to talk about this in more detail another day, but I just want to show you real quick that you can just kind of move things around really easily here. And that's one of the things I really like about Ableton Live. It allows me to experiment with different positions of instruments, different effects change and stuff like that really quickly and easily. Over here, if I click on this, or if I double click up here, if I double click the title bar of the track, it shows me my, device view. If I double click a clip, it shows me my clip view. This is what a MIDI clip looks like. It looks like MIDI stuff. I'm just gonna go ahead and close that other screen down. If I have an audio clip, it looks like audio information down here. And that makes sense, right? Audio would look like audio, MIDI would look like MIDI. Now, one thing I do want to say about the audio part is that you can't edit your audio down here. The editing audio in here, like you can't cut it up and reposition it and reorganize it in this bottom window down here, which is kind of annoying. It's something that there's a program called Bitwig, and Bitwig is a program where some of the programmers and engineers from Ableton a long time ago actually split off and made this other program called Bitwig, and it's starting to gain more traction finally, starting to get somewhere. People are starting to notice it, and I mean, it has been around for a while, and it's getting more and more popular. It's a very cool program. It's very similar to Ableton. I don't use it just because of some of the ways that I work in Ableton. You couldn't work with Bitwig for a while. I'm not sure if that's still the case or not, but it is a cool program, and maybe you should check it out if you're interested. If you like Ableton Live, but there's some things you want to see different, one of the things you can do with Bitwig is you can actually chop up audio down here in this little clip area down here. But for the most part, Bitwig actually does act very similar to Ableton Live. So it's a cool alternative. It's a bit cheaper than Ableton Live, but it's still kind of pricey to buy if it's something you're not sure that you want to use or not. All right, so over here on the left-hand side, we have some different views here for our clips. So we have the launch view, we have the clip name view, we can change the color of our clips. We can also do that by right-clicking on the clip in the views up top. Our launch view, and then our envelopes view, and we're going to talk about each one of these views in detail on other days. So we're just going to keep moving along here and not really talk about that too much right now. And then if we go up the top up here, if I open this arrow here, which should be open by default, you're going to see your browser window here, and the browser shows you a whole bunch of stuff. You've got your collections, you've got your categories, and you've got your places. Now, when you're first starting off with Ableton Live, what you can do is you can go in here to your sounds, and it has all your sounds categorized by sound type. So you've got like, in here you've got like bass and brass, effects, exotic, experimental, guitar plucked, mallets, all these different sound types. And you can drag these, you can open them up like bass sounds, and you can drag them in here. Let me just go ahead and make a new session. I'm gonna hit Command N to make a new session. And let's find a bass sound. So down here, you notice this little headphone jack. This means that it's gonna play when I click on it. Right? So if I want to go here to this one here, let's drag that one up to a MIDI track here. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit record on this. And I can play my keyboard. And so I can play that. I can say, oh, I like that sound. There we go. And it automatically just grabbed it for me. I didn't even have to hit record or anything like that. And this is a kind of an interesting way to get started. You know, not a bad way to get started with stuff. Ableton Live does this better or worse depending on what you've been playing and stuff like that. So it's not always perfect, but it usually does a pretty good job there. And so I've got my bass line in here, and if I want to change that sound, I can just double click on the name of the track, and down here, see a little recycle button here, or whatever that is. I can go through here and I can just check different ones. I can double click that one there. And you can hear it's like a little bit weird sounding, so I'm just gonna, there we go. No. There we go. And if I want to go ahead and put a drum kit in here, what I can do is I can just go over here to my drum sounds, and I can just say, let's grab a 707. That's like a pretty 80s sounding thing. That would go my little 80s bass line. And I can put that in there, make sure I'm record enabled down here on the track. And right, so I got that. I hit play. And now we've got like a little 80s thing going on there real quick. And you know, I just chose the sounds here, and if I want to make another MIDI track, what I can do is I can go up here to create, and I can go to insert MIDI track here. You can see this shortcut is Command-Shift-T. So I'm going to just put that there. Let's add another little hi-hat sound in there. I'll use the hi-hat sound from this kit here. Make sure I've got record enabled here. Right, so I got that there. You know, if I want to record something else, probably a little bit more 80s sounding than a straight ahead 8. Right. We're going to talk about MIDI recording later this week, so I don't want to get too deep into it. I just want to kind of show you how, what these areas over here are for. Now, the other thing you can use in this area here is to grab different clips. And what you can do is go in here to clips or samples or whatever, and you can type in the word loop. And you're going to see it's got a couple loops. There's not too many loops in here out of the box, but I do have some cool loops for you to download. Okay, so I can drag this loop in here, and now we can hear it with our little beat that we had. It's the wrong pitch. So I can, if you look down here in the lower left-hand corner of my screen, I actually have some controls for that. And again, this is stuff we're going to dive into a deep dive in, but I just want to show you if I click on transpose here, and I use my arrow keys. There we go. I'll just detune it a little bit. So you can quickly transpose things. And this is where Ableton Live's real strength comes from, is being able to just grab loops and anything from different tempos or whatever, and different pitches and things like that, just like throw them all together in there. And I'm gonna, again, I'm going to show you, you've got some sample libraries and how we can set those up in a second here, because your assignment for today is going to be about setting up sample. It's going to be about like making something, just using some samples that I've given you basically. So that's that in there. That's basically our categories and stuff. We're going to come back and talk about our places here. Now what I want to do is I just want to show you real quick about this section here. Now this section is our session view, and that's what we're going to be using today mostly, is the session view. A little bit in the arrangement view, but mostly the session view. And what we've got here is different clips on each of these tracks. So across the top, if we're going down here, let me just go ahead and put some names in here real quick. This is our bass, and I'm going to hit tab to go over, and this is our bass drum and snare drum, and this is our closed hi-hat. And this is our beat loop. So I just have these here. Now, I don't know if you noticed here, if I put in the word loop, I got a couple different loops in here. So I'm going to grab both of these and just throw them in here. And I'm going to make sure I transpose them all the same. So I'm going to put them all up to 6 down here in the lower left-hand corner. And this one here is -18. So they're all transposed to the same tuning. But what you're going to notice that's different is, check this out. I just want to point this out to you. If I play this one here, now watch what happens. It plays this one here. And let's play this one. Hold on, let me just set these all up the same. They're a little bit different. There we go. Okay, now they sound better. All right, now what I want you to notice here is when I click play on one, it stops playing the one that was previously playing. So if I hit go, I hit play, see it started playing the new one here. These are all basically similar, so it might be a little bit tricky to hear the difference, but hopefully you can hear the difference there. Now, if I wanted to, let's say I've got this drum loop here. I'm going to go ahead and play this one here. Let's go ahead and delete this for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my metronome here. And now watch what happens when I hit play on these. And look at the metronome, or listen to the metronome and listen and watch what I hit when I hit play. There we go. And I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to hit play again. And I'm going to hit stop. Okay, now what I want you to notice is it's playing and stopping on the downbeat of the next bar. The reason why it's doing that is because I've got this set here for 1 bar. If I set this for 2 bars, what it's going to do is it's going to play it every 2 bars. So this global quantize, what it does is it locks things into my 1 bar, 2 bars, or a half a bar, a quarter note, or something like that. So when I hit play, it's going to lock it all in together. So when I hit play, all these things can start at the same time. So if I stop, it's not going to play it, and it's not going to stop it until that 2 bars comes up. Let's do this one here. And now I'm going to play this one. See how that works? So if I hit play, that play bar, the play button flashes, showing me that it's about to play, but it's not actually starting to play yet. And same thing when you hit stop. Okay, let's play this one right here. Let's play this one. And it's doing it every 2 bars. So it's not going to stop playing it until 2 bars. This one here. Okay, so you can see how that works there. The way that works is the same for playing, stopping, and recording. I'm just going to go ahead and put this back on 1 bar now. I recommend that you keep your global quantize on 1 bar, but different people like to have it set up differently. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in here, and actually, let's see, I'm just going to zoom out. I'm going to change my record to this one here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what it's like to record a drum line in here. Got that there. So if I hit play on this, when I hit the record button, it's not going to start recording until it gets to that downbeat of the bar. Watch this. 3, 4, 1, 2, ready, go. Hit record again. that kind of did a weird thing there. There we go. I can just move that around. Now I can play any one of these ideas. I can play any one of these ideas here, and I'll play it in line, in time. And so you can see it works the same for recording and playing all the things and stopping stuff. And if you ever want to stop everything that's on the channel and it's in record mode and they're all just set to record, you can just hit the stop button down here. Again, I'm going to go over this more slowly in a couple days so we can really get into MIDI recording and stuff. And that's pretty much it. There are some sends down here so we can send those to reverbs and stuff. That's funny, crispy. Right, so we can send these to that, or here, let's put the. Right, so we got that there, and then just send it to our delay there a little bit. So that's basically what we want to get into here. Let me flip the screen here so we can show you the arrangement view. It's all very similar. These are the same tracks. You can see they're named the same. They're the same tracks or channels as what we have in this view over here, but the difference is just the layout here is a little bit different here. So I've got my down here, I've got my I/O section across the bottom here, and I got my sends, and I got my mixing section here. If I hit the tab key, all that stuff shifts over to the right. So I got the name of the track, I got my I/O section here, and then I've got my mixing section here, and these boxes right here are the send amount. So if I turn this up, that's our send amount right there in a little box. Okay. So that's basically a quick overview of Ableton Live there, right there. Cool. So a couple things I want to show you in here real quick. I'm just going to go ahead and stop this recording and start a new recording so we have a clean recording of the preferences here. Let me just go ahead and stop this.